Welcome to the Top Keys. My name is Bharat Patel. Thank you for joining us today. I have a good friend with us, Jagruti Panwala. I was going to say Patel. Jagruti Panwala, who was the first chairwoman of AAHOA. And we were downstairs in the lobby talking for a minute. Let's tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and how you ended up in the industry.
Yeah, so thank you, Bharat, for having me here today. Kind of reminds me of old times when we did a lot of work together, especially in AAHOA as officers working together. My story is I started in this industry very young, right? Like many of the Indian American hoteliers, I consider myself first and second generation. I started at age 22, really an accidental hotelier. I ended up purchasing my first property from somebody who was just struggling in business, and I didn't have any liquidity, so we ended up doing lease to purchase option, which was super famous years and years and years ago. So it's now
Philadelphia or
in Philadelphia. So at age 22, so now I've been in the business for 27 plus years now. And my first AAHOA convention that I attended was in 2001 in Atlantic City, which I'll never forget, because I remember just my eyes were wide open, because I always felt that when I bought a hotel, which was in 1999, that I was alone, that nobody was doing what I was doing, crazy acquisition at such a young age. But then I saw thousands and thousands of hotel owners. So I felt relatable, and that's how I really got involved in AAHOA. Yeah, built in that. Yeah, it was a keynote, and to see all our community together, supporting each other, collaborating, networking, I think really opened up my eyes, and that's where I started going to AAHOA events. Eventually, as you know, I became a chair of AAHOA in 2019, and continuously, be involved in AAHOA, because we were just talking downstairs. Once you're in AAHOA,
right,
there's no acts. You're not leaving AAHOA, right? The AAHOA becomes really part of you, because it's not just a business organization. It's such an amazing community where we're all here to support each other, and that's the way I look at AAHOA. It's just a very small community.
And so speaking of the small community, when you first started, there weren't any women coming to these events.
Yeah.
So, how did you get more involved? You joined the board, and then you ran for office. And, we can talk about Nashville and San Diego, a tremendous convention. So tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you convinced all these other ladies to start joining.
Yeah, it really takes a village. And I think you'll hear it from many people, especially when it comes to AAHOA, right? It's not a one person doing something. It's about the entire team working together. So when I first decided to join AAHOA as a board member in 2011, I believe, in Las Vegas, I really didn't know much about AAHOA. I just knew there was a great community and I wanted to be a part of it. But I noticed very early on that the female participation, even though the membership was 50-50,
right,
the female participation was like less than 10%. So which really shocked me. So along with me, many other female leaders like Nancy Patel and Lena and Drusha and Helen Zaver, many of us had the one goal in mind is how do we bring more women participation at the conferences. This was just the beginning of what we were trying to do. We started organizing a lot of town hall meetings for women-based specific. So we started asking questions instead of us just talking, asking questions. What is it that you're looking for, right? And we ultimately realized one thing, key part is the ownership, is what the female entrepreneurs were lacking, because they were doing all the day-to-day operations, running the hotels in and out, more than their husband. But they actually knew more than even their husband, right, about the hotels, what's happening with the employees, even the data, the numbers. It's just that they were not signing on the dotted line, right? So over the years, with so many female leaders coming into the association, I think that's something I'm super proud of progress. Even if you see at the Lending Con right now, you see a good amount of percentage, right? I would say at least 30% of the attendees are female here.
Right.
So it's great to see that engagement. And like I said, it doesn't happen because one person takes a leadership role. Right. It really happens when you build consensus and you've got a team of leaders who are ultimately have one goal in mind.
And they're welcoming more
people.
So you can compare, I think Philadelphia to Philadelphia was 12 years apart, maybe 10 years apart.
I think so, yeah.
Right? What did you see the difference? We just had a successful convention in Philadelphia. We're going to Anaheim.
Yeah.
Southern California has always been, San Diego, LA, they're always tremendous, 7,000 plus.
Yeah.
You had a great convention. So what did you see the differences between when you first started I think Philadelphia is the first time I met you.
Yeah.
It was that convention. And then this Philadelphia convention, the crowd and the topics, are the topics the same? What did you see?
So that's what I would say, that our education platform has dramatically increased because I felt in the beginning, and it's no fault of anybody, right? We're all learning. The education is like evolving, right? So as we became more professional as an association over the years, right, there were less cultural and community discussion versus what hoteliers actually need to run their operation as efficiently as possible. How do you work with a brand? You can have disagreement with the brand, but how do you actually make things work with them? How do you work with the lenders? How do you negotiate, right? Those are the key tools, and obviously AI is a huge part, technology is a huge part of our industry now. I think those are the things that I'm seeing in much more progressive way than we've done in past. And that's great. And that's always going to happen, right? We're going to evolve. There's going to be new AI, new technology, new products, more brands coming in. And as a business owners, it's so important to attend conference and not just learning from speakers, but also learning from each other, right? Like at AAHOA in Philadelphia or any convention you go, the biggest value the AAHOA provides is the access to each other.
Right.
Where we are all in one place and there's 5,000 of us or 10,000 of us getting together and we're discussing what everybody's doing and we're all helping each other.
Right.
And that is really the greatest assets of AAHOA. And I think as long as we keep up with that community involvement and collaboration, AAHOA really can, go as high as we want to go.
Right. So
it's a community.
In our audience, if you're talking to a mother or daughter, or even a father and son, what would you suggest to first generation, second generation, third generation hoteliers? Particularly because, like you said, you're kind of stuck between first and second generation.
Yep.
And you started out and you've seen AAHOA evolve so much. And while AAHOA can't be everything to everyone, it kind of is now, right?
Yeah.
So, what would be your piece of advice?
So I think as an AAHOA, first of all, we have to look internally ourselves, okay? Because if we are actually claiming, which is a fact, that 60% of all the hotels in this country is owned by AAHOA members, then why do we not have that 60% of that participation? Why isn't our membership at 50,000 right now? Right? So we have become more professionals. Hopefully that less politics that we've seen in AAHOA.
Sure.
And again, any organization, whether it's AAHOA or any other organization, you're always going to have internal politics. But it shouldn't go across same way into the membership, right? When members are attending, they want to see a value,
sure,
right? So I feel that we need to look more internally before we look at externally and say, hey, why do we not have out of 10,000, at least 2,000 or 3,000 female attendees? Why do we not have a lot of young entrepreneurs or young professionals attending yet, right? Next generation. And think about it in our mind that what are we doing wrong? Are we providing the value, right? And I think more value you provide of that networking, of the subject, the topics, the educational component of it, more connection with brands.
Right.
Hey, it's an evil that we all will say, okay, but it is a marriage, right? At the end of the day, and how do we do a successful in a way that when our members are attending our conference, they're seeing a strong front and they're here for advocating for hotel owners, right? So I think that I look at it in both ways. I think more value you provide, the more members will show up and more people will become members. It's just a natural thing. Yeah.
Yes. So as we wind up, what else? You kind of had three stages. You got into the business, you joined the AAHOA, then you joined the board, then you became chair, and then there's the post-chairmanship, right?
Yeah.
Post-president.
Yeah.
So, which has been the most rewarding and sort of wild,
I think the entire journey has been rewarding because I'll be honest with you, like I said, when I got into this industry, I had no connections, no relationship. I really didn't even know one person who was a hotelier. to now knowing pretty much every single member in the country. Like I can literally travel anywhere, and if somebody owns a hotel, they know who Jagruti is.
Sure.
That's super powerful, right? So I take entire journey to my heart. But during when I was a chair, obviously the biggest obstacle that we all face as an industry was a COVID,
Yeah.
and that was probably one of the toughest, challenging time. But also rewarding in a way that we were able to do this together as an industry and still came out ahead, right? When all the hotels were shut down, when the counties were shutting down your properties, and you were like, okay, what do you do? How do you pay mortgages? When AAHOA came in with all the resources, and it wasn't just us. We had other associations, state, local associations. We had brands, everybody working together to make sure their owners were going to be okay.
Sure.
As much as it was a challenge, it was very much rewarding because we felt that we kind of kept the industry together.
Right.
And we were the sounding board for our members, which was the most important value you can provide at that time. Because when they were asking me questions, saying, Jagruti, what do? I didn't have any answers, but I had to get answers. Went very quickly, right? All of our meetings were on Zoom meetings. Our conference was on Zoom to keep everybody engaged.
Right.
So I think as an industry, we're resilient, which I think everybody knows that. But I feel like in the leadership position, it doesn't matter whether it's COVID or even what current situation with really economic difficulties that a lot of our owners are experiencing, having that leadership where you have that listening ear and understand what owners' true heart burns in on day to day,
Sure.
and be there for them. I think it's a huge value you bring to your members.
It was a 24-hour job. I remember it was 1-800-CALL-AAHOA.
Yes,
And we were the voice of hoteliers. We stepped up with the education.
absolutely.
And I think one of the successes is SBA.
Yes.
And giving money directly to LLCs and to the brands. So, Jagruti, let's talk a little bit about your journey to host. What made you want to run for, directorship? What made you want to run for being an officer, being secretary? I mean, we didn't always have a secretary at AAHOA, right?
Yeah.
So, what made you decide to run?
Yeah, so I wanted to join the board when I joined in 2011. And honestly, like I said, I really didn't know about AAHOA in the detail, but I knew that it was a great organization because I'd been going to all the conventions and town hall meetings. And I just knew that it's somewhere that I can provide a good value. I was always involved in a lot of a smaller communities, so servicing, volunteering my time was something instilled in me since I was little. So AAHOA was kind of more of a natural thing that, hey, I am a hotelier, I'm purchasing multiple hotels. It's time for me to take the next step and join AAHOA without really having any expectations either way, besides hoping that I can provide some value. And as I mentioned earlier, the biggest thing that I saw was the discrepancy on the attendance and the participation and engagement from how many male entrepreneurs were attending versus the female entrepreneurs. So that was really my first biggest, and that's why I ran for position for the female director at large for Eastern Division at that time. And I continued in that position in 2014. The one thing I've realized being in the industry and really going to a lot of this different conference and organization and being a board member is that a lot of the decisions actually happen at the top level, right? And when I saw or realized that over 30 years of history that there was no diversity on a decision-making process, there were only male chair for all these years, I just felt it was so important that it was time to have that difference of opinion or difference of the voice. It doesn't mean male can do a better job than female or vice versa. It wasn't about that, but having a diverse opinion and diverse board and diverse perspective. It was not an easy decision because I knew the time commitment. I realized that I would be pretty much leaving my family for about 4 years.
Right.
I have two small...
Support your husband and 2 children.
Absolutely. I have 2 small children, right? Where one is just one teenager and one is even younger, and a husband. So there was a lot of communication within my own internal family to give them that expectation, because this journey was not going to be just Jagruti's journey.
Right.
It was going to be an entire family journey. Even I had a discussion with my father-in-law and mother-in-law who who I had to ask for support
Right.
because when I wasn't going to be there in the evenings, somebody needed to be home to take care of the children and also help them with their schoolwork and all of that. So a lot of discussions. Ultimately, I decided to run for the position. And as you know, AAHOA elections, they're not easy, right? You're campaigning, you're traveling, you're meeting members. But honestly, like that really helped me understand what members were looking for. When I campaigned, the 2 years where I was running for the position, I was traveling throughout the country and meeting like all members and really understanding. Because that, after winning the election, I actually knew my roadmap. I knew the path. Because the members actually spoke up and say, hey, these are the issues we're seeing in the association. These are the issues we expect you to deliver on. So it kind of gave me a roadmap. So honestly, my motivation was really trying to bridge the gap of the decision-making process, bring more diversity when it comes to decision-making.
The issue is really different then.
And
there are very few leaders that were stepping out and listening to the members and making sure not so much campaign promises, but campaign commitments delivered.
Absolutely, right? Because that's the biggest problem in any politics, right? Even if you're running as a Congress or senator in your own city, you can say whatever you want, but can you actually deliver on those promises? And I think our members were holding on to that, hey, you're saying this, I need to make sure that you're going to deliver on that promise. And I took that as a big commitment into my heart that whatever I'm promising during my candidacy, I am going to deliver, which I think we did as a team over the years being in AAHOA.
In politics and history, sometimes the challenge is thrust upon you. So you face it. COVID-19 challenge.
Yeah.
I think it was March 2020 when things got underway.
Yeah.
And you must have fielded calls from people that own 1 hotel, 5 hotels, 100 hotels, and the brands.
Yes.
So what was that like? And then let's pivot to talking about a little bit about advocacy. So what was it like when you did that? What do you remember about that time?
I still remember, like you mentioned, March of 2020 when, because we actually had a board meeting somewhere, and then obviously we were preparing for our big convention, and all of a sudden things just started shutting down, and literally felt like happened overnight, right? Within like 24 or 48 hours, everything was just shut down. So there wasn't like, and owners were not prepared. We were not prepared. As a chair, I was not prepared. Right? But I knew I had an amazing team, a AAHOA team, and also of our board was up for the challenge. God, I still remember getting a call from a member just in tears saying, I've got this 42 small motel and everything shut down. I don't even know how I'm going to pay my mortgage, what I'm going to do. So we immediately started working with all the lenders, right? Started educating them, right? And they knew what was going on, right? And they also were not in a business of taking over the businesses. They wanted to make sure that we're giving opportunity, but there had to be a conversation. Obviously, advocacy became a huge and important milestone and foundation for our industry. And I'm so proud of our members because over the years, AAHOA and the members have focused on political advocacy. And a lot of times we feel like, well, this is a waste of time. Let just leaders do it. That's not true. Sharing your stories was super, super important.
It is.
I've said this story many, many times. I remember like...
And you testified in front of Congress.
Yeah, like multiple times, right? And that was really rewarding for me, but also to explain to the legislators how we are small business owners, and just because I've got a Hilton brand on my flag or a Marriott or a Choice or Wyndham, it doesn't mean that it's owned by them. I'm the one who still does all the operations. I take all the liabilities, all of that stuff, right? So all right, all the checks, right? It doesn't matter if there's a revenue or not. There's a fixed cost involved, and we are responsible for that. So that understanding over the years really helped us during advocacy, because when I was calling Brian Fitzpatrick, who was our congressman at the time, he knew who Jagruti was, right? He picked up the call right away. So that connections and relationship really helped us on, the EIDL that we were pushing for our community, for our business owners, right? Because originally they wanted to put everything in a package, which was restaurants and the hotels, everything.
Because
right?
they did that for the airline.
Because they did that for airline, right? And we not that we're objecting, but we were trying to show them a clear path why this package needs to be for the hotel owners specifically.
Right.
And we were able to get that message across. And again, like I said, it really happened very rapidly. I think we were, during COVID, working 24/7. I mean, I was getting calls from members who were in California,
Right.
like at midnight, right? So we were not sleeping, and this was everybody who was on the same place and same mindset. But we all knew that we needed to work together and get through it. The brands were working with the members, which I was super proud of.
Right.
Again, there were a lot of conversations.
We're conduit, the officers were conduit, and that
Right.
team.
We had a team. We had an advisory board.
Right.
We had an advisory board with successful hoteliers like Hirsch Hospitality, Vision Hotel, Noble Investments, Baywood, DJ Rama Group. Everybody was involved in, and again, it wasn't just goal for themselves individually. It was a goal for the industry as a whole.
And that was a success for AAHOA, having
That's
being involved and them realizing that the LLC should be funded.
Absolutely.
Not brand.com, but
Yep.
the LLCs themselves. So, we had a AAHOA team, the staff, the board. So what's your hopes and dreams for the future of AAHOA as we wind down?
Look, like I said from the beginning, the biggest asset AAHOA has is its members, and providing accessibility to each other is really the strongest thing we can do. Yes, the bargaining part of it, negotiating part of it is there because AAHOA is such a large association.
Right.
The one thing I do hope that structurally we do a better job as an association, because I feel like officers specifically and a board member get a lot more responsibility than they really should be.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, everybody has families, their own businesses, and how do you actually come up with the formula where they can still have a successful family time and their run their own businesses while they're serving the association?
Right.
Because it felt like to me when I was a chair that it's one or other, right? Because the pressure is on. You are
Yeah, the AAHOA family.
you are the AAHOA family, right? So I hope that somehow to bring more younger generation in leadership position, that's one of the biggest things that I feel like we haven't really worked on it too well, or we haven't been successful at it. And also having a proper structure that, we have a great CEO right now, but hiring a COO, having that proper
that helps.
infrastructure in organization, then
Having a
then
bench.
having a bench, right? Then, you're delegating things that needs to be done by your professional team, and the things that you need to do, which is connecting with your members, listening to your members, being there for your members. That should be your officers and your board's job, is really being present there for all some of the stuff that I feel that we're very micro versus a macro kind of organization overview. So I think if we kind of make those changes, I think we can have a lot more younger leadership, and not just younger leadership, just the next generation, but with a lot of ideas, because then they know that they don't have to give up their family and they don't have to give up their day-to-day job to serve the association, right? They can do both.
Sure. So if somebody wants to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact?
Connect me on LinkedIn, on social media. I'm on Facebook, so anytime, and hope to see you at the next conference.
So Jagruti, thank you for being here. Hopefully we can do a part 2.
Yeah.
Thanks for passing the torch.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bharat.